What up, man? It's your boy, Dick Incredible. And this is My Hero Academia Season 4, Episode 14. If you guys have been a fan of my channel, man, you know how I mentioned that I loved NIGHTEYE. I loved the character. He's such a cool character. His powers were cool. And just overall, everything, every time he was on screen, he commanded your presence. He was just such a cool and wonderful character. And I knew it was coming. Because week in and week out, I constantly say, I've read the manga to a certain point. And the funny thing is, I knew it was coming and I knew how it was going to feel. But I didn't expect it to hit me this hard. I already knew he was going to die. But it still hit me so hard when he did. And then seeing Bubble Girl's face, Mirio's face, All Might, Deku. I knew it was going to happen. I knew how it was going to happen, when it was going to happen, and everything. And I still was caught in such just a barrel of emotions because I knew it. If I don't go in, I'm gonna cry on camera and I can't. Okay, man. Like I said, I read the manga to a certain point, and next week is the episode. Episode 15 will be the episode where I stop reading the manga. So everything from episode 16 onward is going to be a completely new thing for me, man. But let's talk about this episode, man. Okay. So we picked up right after last week's episode, and it continued the fight between Deku and Overhaul. And we see how Deku was able to expand and finish off Overhaul. Because, you know, he was using Ares' quirk at the same time. But he was like, well, he had to finish Overhaul and, like, knock him out with it, like, with one continuous motion. Because if not, he would just break his body down and just reconfigure it. So that's what he done. He took it, he threw out the punches, and then he grabbed him and knocked him out. And that was the battle. That was it, and it finished it. And everybody was looking so surprised and shocked to see him finish it. But then something else was wonderful too. This episode, Deku was the hero, man. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody talked about last week's episode, and rightfully so. It was just that wonderful. But he went beyond this episode because at the end, they also stated that minimal damage was done to the surrounding building and houses and homes and everything because Deku made it his mission to finish off Chisaki. I mess it up every week. Every week. Chisaki, and with as minimal damage as he could. And when he knocked him out and he threw him back down to the ground because he was in such a big form, he threw him back close enough to the hole to only damage that area and not the surrounding areas around it. That is also in a hero's repertoire. Instead of just demolishing a whole bunch of buildings trying to defeat the villain, he kept it as minimal as he could and defeated him right in that area right there without damaging anything else. But we also see Sun Eater this episode saving Eraserhead and him saving Mirio as well. And everyone was just, let's be real, we're all heartbroken that we lost NIGHTEYE. But just to wrap up, everybody, you know, man. But that concluded the whole raid. And then we have Riju, or however you want to say her name, the whole dragon chick, complimenting Deku on his heroism in this, on the raid and in this episode. And she was like, you know, we got a lot of problems and a lot of stuff to deal with, you know, because a lot of people got hurt and everything. But she congratulated him on defeating Overhaul and everything. So it was nice to Deku is finally getting that real vibe, man. And I said it last week on Twitter that they made Deku finally one of those anime characters. Like, he reached anime status last week, because last week he completely just demolished Overhaul, but he also, they made him glow with the glowing eyes like a typical anime character. So that was very, very nice, man. So after all of that, everybody's going to the hospital, and Midoriya also sees NIGHTEYE, where he's so tired, man, because he still has the hole in his body, and he was like, "You're gonna do it, NIGHTEYE, get better." And NIGHTEYE tells him that he was wrong, and thanks to Midoriya, a new future has availed, and it was so wonderful for him to finally get that closeness that he wanted with NIGHTEYE. I mean, NIGHTEYE, he done all this to test him because he really wanted Mirio with One for All, but now he understands that it's in good hands with Midoriya and everything, and it was so wonderful. Excuse me, it was so wonderful. And now we're at the hospital, and we're going through, and we're seeing everybody. But before we get to the hospital scene, because that's a lot to talk about within itself, we get to another favorite moment that I love. And for me, reading it in the manga, this is when the League of Villains and Tomura became a staple for me. This is when he because pretty much all episodes leading up to now, we knew that Overhaul was a villain. Like he was set, like he had straight villain status. But this episode for me is when Tomura became like a complete boss and legend in the villain status to me. We had Spinner the whole time, like, well, this doesn't feel like something Stain would do, attacking the police and all of this stuff. And Tomura was like, well, or Shigaraki, let's get this out of the way, and then we don't have to do this anymore. Let's focus on this, because this is a means to an end, because we gotta get him in. They want the capsules that can destroy people's quirk. And the only thing about that is, I feel like that as of right now, they finished the product, but at the same time, it's not completely finished. I feel like that, yeah, it can erase people's quirks for good right now, but there has to be a way to bring them back, or it doesn't last forever, because NIGHTEYE's future, when he uses power on Mirio, he said that he was going to be a great hero. And I haven't read the manga up to that point, so I don't know. But as of right now, I'm feeling like that's not gonna, it can't last or something. I don't know, man, because it's kind of contradicting itself with the capsule being able to destroy everything and the quirks, and Mirio not having his quirk. But then NIGHTEYE seeing a future where Mirio becomes a great hero. Now, he still can become a great hero without his quirk, but I'm just saying, I feel like he's gonna get his quirk back. I don't know. And let's be real. This whole episode was boss, man. But then that whole Shigaraki scene, when they are defeating what was his name? Sand something. I can't remember. Anyway, the pro hero with the sand or whatever. I can't remember his name. But anyway, we saw Dabi going ham, and Dabi does his work. But then he flips over the van, and he takes out Overhaul. And I can't remember dude's name either. I'm sorry, you guys. My mind is trying to process so much, dealing with NIGHTEYE and then talking about the episode and process all of my emotions that I'm feeling over here. I'm really going through some stuff, man, because I love the NIGHTEYE. NIGHTEYE is my favorite character. But okay, so they get out, and the dude with the capsules. Oh man, I can't remember his name. Anyway, he takes out the left hand of Overhaul, and then Shigaraki comes and hits Decay on the right hand, and he said something so wonderful. He was like, "You're trying to erase people's quirks, but you're using a quirk yourself. That's very hypocritical." And I loved it, and that was the moment for me when he jumped head and leaps and bounds above Overhaul. Overhaul, yeah, he was like, this episode and these whole other previous episodes, we knew he was a villain, and he was doing some dangerous stuff, and he had it set up. He was a boss too. But this is when Shigaraki jumped leaps and bounds ahead of him, man, because dude just took, and let's be real, he cut off both of his hands. So he was like, if you don't want this to decay and to kill the rest of you and lose your whole arm, I'll just cut it off right here for you. And he cut this man's hands off. And oh boy. And Overhaul couldn't do nothing, but like he was in a state of shock. Then he started to break out in hives because of the blood, you know. But or it could have just been because he was just so confused and hit with the shock. He didn't even know what to do. But he was hit with shock and he was just so confused and he couldn't even scream or like let anything out until they started to walk away. After the fact that he had already had his hands cut off. That is a boss. I don't care what anybody say. This man has set his staple for me. And I know a lot of people told me that in the manga now he's just straight going ham. But as of right now, this is where he became. See, you can't even see where I'm pointing it because I'm above the camera. But this is where he came. This episode, this is where he became that for me, man. It is what it is because this episode he was straight boss, man. And that's pretty much it. But I want to talk about the hospital scene. We have All Might and we have everybody in Eraserhead telling Midoriya how everyone's treatment is going. Fat is okay. Kirishima, Sun Eater, everybody's okay. They're hurt and bruised, but they're okay. Aries okay, but they got to keep her quarantined because, you know, like with her quirk, they can't really be there. And Eraserhead, the only one that can get her to not access her. He can shut down her quirk once she activated. But the only thing is that I really loved about this episode when they talked about Eri was Eraserhead when he was making this statement and going through the whole thing telling Midoriya was that Aries' powers, yeah, they can they take you all the way back and everything, but he was like, with her being so traumatized and the way that her power activates and everything, I don't even know if training her would be a good idea because she's so traumatized. And I think that's why her power activates the way that it does and it goes out of control the way that it does because she's so traumatized, man. But I lost my stuff when we got to the hospital scene and we saw NIGHTEYE in the room with Mirio, Deku, All Might, the Centipede guy, and Bubble Girl. I lost my stuff, man. My heart was about to pop out of my chest because I was so distraught. But just seeing NIGHTEYE smile at the end and everything that he mentioned towards Deku, All Might, and Mirio was absolutely wonderful. And I was just as heartbroken as they were. But for him to smile at the end, it was so wonderful, man. And you guys know how I feel about, NIGHTEYE, man. It was so wonderful, and I love this episode to pieces, man. This is your boy, Dick Incredible. Don't forget to smash the like button until you can't smash it anymore. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them, and subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. And remember that anime matters, anime is greatness, and anime is life, man. Peace out.